there, hi there, ho there, everybody out there in podcast land. Are you missing football yet?
It's only been a couple days.
Getting the shakes? Getting the withdrawals? I am. God help me. I'm back to reading books again. What am I going to do with my life until August?
We got free agency getting ready to kick in. The draft is coming.
I know. NASCAR, One day a week. Baseball, The Dodgers have ruined that. But your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador, Dave Height, along with me, the Maestro Kevin Crane, are here to recap the ass-kicking that was Super Bowl licks. Super Bowl 59.
Yep, and the Eagles got their licks in big time.
Yep, the Eagles crushed the Chiefs 40-22, and that score is not even close to being indicative of what the game really should have been.
Yeah, that was garbage time points.
Yeah, it was 40-6. And the Chiefs scored 2 late garbage touchdowns and got the 2-point conversions.
Yeah, it's way not even close.
And by the way, can I point this out to start off? I don't have a problem with them running their offense and doing all that and going for the onside kicks. But when Andy Reid called that last time out...
Oh, that was trash.
That was pathetic. You're not coming back at this point.
No, it's not. No, there's no way in hell.
But he had to call that last time out. I gotta use it. Yeah, because there's gonna be some 18-point miracle.
Yeah, not going to happen, Andy.
All right, so anyway, Jalen Hurts is your MVP, although I would say the MVP, if you could have given it to a coach, should have been Vic Fangio.
Vic Fangio ran the perfect game as a defensive coordinator.
And didn't blitz once.
No, not one single blitz. Stayed in his base package, dialed a couple of things up, but he consistently just had the front four applying pressure all night, and there wasn't a damn thing the Chiefs' offensive line could do about it.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was basically our defensive line against your offensive line, let's go.
Yep.
And the Chiefs' offensive line had no chance in holy hell.
No, they just got their asses handed to them.
Travis Kelce looked disinterested.
Yeah, he was... Where the hell was he? The few passes he caught, he just kind of lumbered and then got hit. Didn't look like he was trying to block for anything. I mean, his heart wasn't in that game.
No, and Mahomes did not look good. Now, a lot of it was due to the pressure.
There was pressure. Even the best quarterbacks cannot handle that much pressure, as we've seen in Chicago for the last 10 years. When there's no offensive line, you can't do anything.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay set the blueprint on how to beat the Chiefs. Back when Tom Brady got his final ring, they did the exact same thing that the Eagles just did.
Yep, put a lid on the coverage, keep everything underneath, and let your front four go. No need to blitz, just keep everything in front of you.
Yep. And the Chiefs did a really good job in terms of bottling up Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, they were prepared to... They knew they had to stop the run. And they said, all right, Jalen, we dare you to beat us with your arm. And he did. He showed up. And his legs.
Yep.
So they said, it's up to you, Jalen. What can you do?
Yep.
And he showed up big time.
And again, if you could have given the MVP to anybody, okay, not a coach, there were just so many guys on the defense, you couldn't give it to the whole defense.
Yeah.
So I knew Hurts was going to get it, and he had a really good game. And I've heard people say, and I agree with them, Hurts has played his 2 best games as a professional quarterback in his 2 Super Bowls.
Yes, he has.
He shows up when it matters the most. And he probably played better in the last one when they lost to the Chiefs. Because he did have that one horrendous pick
Right.
in this game.
Yeah. He made one mistake that cost him in the first go. And then he had one this time that didn't hurt.
Yep.
But God, that dagger in the second half coming
to Devontae Smith.
to Devontae Smith, that pass was gorgeous.
Yep. And so now you get all the different questions floating around now. We'll address some of them, not all of them, but I mean, now Hurts has been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Are we undervaluing him? Mahomes had arguably one of the worst performances in Super Bowl history at QB. Have we overvalued him? I say yes a little bit to both.
Yes. You got to find a happy medium. You can't swing the pendulum so far in either direction.
Yeah. I do think Hurts is undervalued. But remember, Russell Wilson got to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. And we're talking about him right now as a borderline, maybe possibly Hall of Famer. So let's slow the roll with anointing Jalen Hurts.
Let's see if there's any sustainability to what he's able to do.
Yes, but let's give him credit for what he's done.
Yes.
And I do think...
We can't take it away from him.
I do think we have now seen the fact that it is extremely difficult, as we switch over to the other side with Pat Mahomes, to sustain that momentum year after year after year. And I downgrade him a little bit because this was an awful performance. But I still don't see how we can completely take him out of the equation when it comes to one of the greatest of all time, especially when he's still got another decade ahead of him.
Yeah.
To compile more. Now it's going to be up to the Kansas City Chiefs front office.
Are they going to be able to work within the salary cap constraints? They have got to retool that offensive line. Now that's where the Eagles GM has shined through, because he keeps drafting well young guys before the veterans move on or retire. So he has them learning side by side, and then they're ready to take over immediately.
Yeah, and you would think...
That's the blueprint on how to build your line.
And that's what everybody's saying, is it Howie Roseman is the GM? He has done such a brilliant job, exactly like you said.
Even with the defensive line, too.
And they are not even close to being in any trouble in terms of the salary cap, which is amazing to me. And, of course, they drafted, like you said, very well for the defense this year. Cooper DeJean, rookie, gets a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. Now you lose your offensive coordinator again.
Yeah.
So Kellen Moore moves on, as we all knew he was going to. He's taking over as the head coach in New Orleans. Some people...
Good luck, Kellen.
Some people, including Nick Sirianni, was kind of begging him to stay.
Come on.
Maybe selfishly on a certain level, but at the same
time, do not kill your head coaching career by going to the Saints. They are in salary cap hell and have been forever.
Yep.
That's a no-win situation down there.
And they're not drafting high enough where they're going to be able to get a new quarterback.
Yeah, it's just not a good situation to go into.
No. But it's like they always say, the cliche is, if one of those 32 jobs opens, you got to take it.
Yeah, well, how did it work for Ben Johnson? He didn't go last year. He waited. And now the Bears, yes, they struggled, but that was primarily horrible coaching. They have some good young talent there, and they have cap space and some draft capital to work with.
Yep.
So it's a much better situation.
Yeah, definitely. So now all the head coaching positions have been filled. The season is over. As a tear rolls down my face like I'm that pollution Indian from that old 70s commercial. And we'll get to the commercials in a few minutes, by the way.
Give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yep.
And then
Only you can prevent forest fires. These are all the public service announcements we dealt with when we were kids. Compared to what we have to deal with now, I'll take those any day.
yeah, for sure. No, what was it? Next up we have the Combine.
Yeah, it should be the Combine. They changed the whole calendar a couple years ago,
Yeah.
so I'm not 100% sure when free agency slots in. But the NFL's goal was to try to make their sport
A year round,
365 days.
and they time things out to keep themselves relevant the whole year through.
Yeah, a couple other things with the Super Bowl. As I mentioned, Saquon Barkley was held in check, but he still did enough where he set the season record, regular season playoffs together, with 2,504 rushing yards and 2,857 scrimmage yards.
Pretty damn impressive.
And then, of course, they awarded the MVP. Josh Allen got it over Lamar Jackson. You and I believe.
Still believe it should have gone to Mr. Barkley.
Yep, and they still should include the postseason in this. And
Yes.
even with the mediocre Super Bowl he had, he still would have got my vote.
Yeah. No, this was Barkley's year. Sorry. The MVP has got to stop being a quarterback award.
It's so short-sighted to just give it to a quarterback. And that's an insult to all the other players.
It is. You can have defensive standouts that don't even get any acknowledgement. Oh, they can win Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, so
yeah, that's
fucking
always
what?
the argument.
Bullshit.
Oh, Saquon won Offensive Player of the Year. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Now, I guarantee,
Now,
that
shouldn't
he's got a ring,
Offensive
he's
Player
happy.
of the Year be your MVP? Shouldn't the Defensive Player of the Year be considered for MVP?
Yeah, in many, many ways, when they do this voting, it's just like the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's just like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which we'll discuss on the weekend edition. Don't forget to check out your Saturday morning hangover cure.
And you know you can find it the same place you can find us here on Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Otherwise known, of course, as iHeartRadio. And don't forget to check out the Facebook page. We'll get to a little bit of NASCAR later on as pole qualifying for Daytona kicks off. Yeah, I'm using a football analogy with racing here in just a few minutes as we tape, so we'll try to give you some live updates. Then, of course, as Dave and I always say, everything's got to be a record. Everything's got to be a record.
Oh, my God. How is everything a fucking record?
Well, guess what? Even though it didn't seem like there was a lot of enthusiasm for this particular matchup, it still set a viewership record, Dave. 127.7 million viewers on average.
Right.
I don't buy it. Not everything can be a record with all of the streaming services and the networks. Everything sets a record. It seems like every week, a new show, a sporting event sets a record.
Not everything is the most watched.
And then, of course, you had the advertisements. First up, of course, $8 million was what we were hearing for a 30-second ad. And that must have been accurate because reports are that Fox brought in $800 million in advertising revenue. So now you wonder why these NFL contracts, when they renew, are so freaking huge, and why
The advertising
Netflix
dollars.
wants in, and Prime wants in, and everybody wants in. All right, advertisements. Now, Dave did not watch the whole game.
No, I skipped out through the second quarter and through halftime.
Well, other than halftime, I subjected myself to the whole game. Ads and all. and I have my notes here. So just for a few minutes, since again I went to school for marketing, I do pay more attention to the ads than probably most people. And I am going contrary to what I've been hearing, where most people are saying this was another bad year for the ads. I will say it was better.
You know,
Still not classic.
Not classic, but one I liked was the Stella Artois beer commercial.
With Matt Damon and Beckham?
Yep.
Yep. Try this buffalo wing. You want me to eat buffalo?
No, it's chicken. It originated in Buffalo.
And that leads to my favorite commercial, which was already out there and been released, the Matthew McConaughey Uber Eats.
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of just like, why did you waste your money on that?
There were a lot of ones that entertained me and a lot that really blew it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Dung Kings 2 kind of fell flat.
Yes.
That was disappointing.
Although I did like Belichick and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that later. But you can't go wrong. Late, I think it was late in the game when GoDaddy did the commercial with Goggins goggles. Did you see that?
Those were brilliant. Walter Goggins is the man right now.
Yeah, he is so cool. Going all the way back, of course, to Justified, and now, of course, with Fallout. He's the best. He's in the White Lotus season 3.
Yep, and he does a lot of voice acting too.
Yep. Now, if you want to, buy into the spirit of America, I did kind of like the Jeep commercial with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
He did that was a really nice, you know.
This is my favorite vehicle, even though my name is Ford.
Yeah. Yep. And then this is something Dave and I have pointed out for years when it comes to marketing. We aren't supposed to count anymore. Mid-50s, late 50s, we're not supposed to count anymore. Yet why is it all these commercials that they had the Nike commercial with the female athletes with Led Zeppelin playing.
Yep.
And then they had the great Ram commercial with Glenn Powell playing Panama.
Uh-huh.
If we don't matter, why do you keep digging into our music to try to sell us stuff?
And why do things still seem to be skewed towards us?
Yeah. So stop lying, okay? You're either admitting one of two things, or both. You're either admitting we still matter in our mid to late 50s, or you're admitting that our music is the greatest of all time. And your current music sucks balls. As a lot of people said about the halftime show. Even though, again, I do not subject myself to those anymore. Probably haven't for the last decade. But we'll talk about that more at the end of the show. I'm already sick because I see it now the last couple days. I've seen it 5 times every morning. I'm sick of the Mountain Dew commercial with Seal. You know, it was nice. It was cute the first time or two. Now it's too much. Seal as a seal.
Yeah, okay. Ha ha.
Same thing with Little Caesars and Eugene Levy's eyebrows.
Yeah,
that's just creepy and weird. I did like, this was the most understated yet brilliant commercial of the night. Was Angel Soft.
I did not see that one.
They basically, their logo, they use the little animated angel on their packaging. Basically, for 30 seconds, they had the animated angel there saying, "We're giving you a potty break. Go now." And didn't do anything other than just have that little character floating around.
Angel Soft.
Hurry up. You got 20 seconds. Hurry up. I was like, that's subtly brilliant. Because that's what most of us are thinking is, when can I get to the bathroom? And Angel Soft just said, nope.
There you go.
We're toilet
paper. Potty
break
sponsored by Angel Soft.
I thought that was very subtly brilliant. Coffee Mate had an awful one, probably the worst of the night, with this tongue.
Oh, God, that was brutally stupid.
And then tying into something you and I talked about last week, which is not true in any way, shape, or form, but this Gemini thing that they've got on the computers now,
yeah.
the AI thing, and the father applying for a job and acting like all his experience raising his kids as a stay-at-home dad is gonna impress the employer. Like, that's bullshit on toast.
Time management skills.
Yeah, come on. You're not getting credit for that. They're not gonna.
No.
Oh, that frustrated me beyond all belief. And then personally, for us here on Sports Frenzy, to wrap up the whole advertising thing, and I've heard other people complain about this. 3 ads for Fox's coverage of F1. 1 ad that I saw for NASCAR.
Wow.
They seem to be really pushing F1 a lot more than they're pushing NASCAR.
Well, there's more money to be made from F1. Internationally.
I don't like it.
Don't like it at all. See, now
like
I didn't
it.
see any of them, so there you go.
It was early. They were early. So then we have got the Hall of Fame, which was also announced this past week. The 4 new members of the Football Hall of Fame. And I was not impressed. Now, I did not know, yes, believe it or not, I'm going to be humble here, and say I did not know that they had enacted more stringent voting rules.
Did they now?
Yes, that's why there's only four gentlemen getting in this year. Only one of the 4, I believe, maybe 2 for you, but 1 for me, 1 for both of us, got in. Antonio Gates. Definitely, he was number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
One of the greatest tight ends of all time. Needed to be in. But beyond that, I think you said Jared Allen.
That was a borderline.
He got in. He doesn't do it for me. Sorry. Eric Allen.
Nah.
Okay. And Sterling Sharp.
For what?
His brother got him in. I guarantee you, because when they have to go before the voting panel and they have to send somebody up there to basically give a speech to try to get this person into the Hall of Fame, politic for him. I don't know for sure, but I gotta believe Shannon Sharp had something to do with getting his brother in.
Yeah, Sterling does not belong in the Hall of
Because you had
Fame.
Torrey Holt, you had Reggie Wayne sitting there.
Both of those much better than Mr. Sharp.
So again, Antonio Gates, Eric Allen, Sterling Sharp, Jared Allen. One of the more underwhelming classes for the Football Hall of Fame. Now, I was happy that Eli didn't get in.
Yeah, me too.
I know I said he would, but that's because the cynical nature in me took over. If I don't want something, it'll usually happen.
Yeah, he does not belong in the Hall of Fame. Sorry.
And now next year, you've got Drew Brees coming in as a potential candidate. Phillip Rivers is eligible next year. Well, Rivers and Manning, to me, are pretty equal.
Yeah.
Rivers had the better statistics, but Eli had the better postseason career.
Yeah. Neither one overwhelming.
But would you agree Brees gets in before both of them?
Oh, yeah.
So that's going to be one spot that's going to block him next year. Bill Belichick's eligible next year. Frank Gore's eligible next year, and they'll screw Frank Gore. I guarantee they will.
They'll say, oh, he's a compiler.
Yep.
Yeah, you know why? Because he was able to stay healthy and play.
Yeah, he's the anti-Christian McCaffrey.
Exactly. Will Peanut Tillman finally get the love he deserves?
They'll never do it. Never do it.
He revolutionized the game.
They should get you and I up there to...
He is the only one in the top 15 of forced fumbles. He's at like 6. He's the only one that's not a defensive lineman.
I'm telling you, they should get you and I up there. we would be able to make a case for him and sway the voters.
40-plus forced fumbles, almost 40 picks. You hear his name almost every game.
Because everybody is copying what he did.
The peanut punch. Not only on the pro level, you hear it at the college level.
Absolutely. All right, let's discuss a few more things off the field now that the season is over. Of course, for the Bears, very, very sad week on a couple fronts. Of course, first and foremost, normally we would wait to the end for this,
but this needs to be covered. The First Lady of the NFL.
And I was glad to see they honored her.
Yeah.
During the Super Bowl.
Virginia McCaskey.
Yep. 102 years old. Lived a very full life.
Yep. And thankfully, the last game was a victory against the Packers.
Yep. Absolutely. And then, of course, we also lost former Bears head coach Dick Geron this week. So, again, a very rough week for the Bears.
Yep, thoughts and prayers to Bears Nation and the individual's family and friends.
Yep, and I told you when the news dropped, I said, let's hope this team,
rallies.
Let's hope Ben Johnson understands this, even though he's really new to the Bears culture. I want to see this team step up this year and play for Virginia McCaskey.
Yeah, we better get a patch on this season's jerseys.
Oh, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Then we've got all the rumors about players already. You mentioned free agency is coming. I have got a newfound respect. Now, our coach came from Detroit. Ben Johnson, of course, was the offensive coordinator for the Lions. The defensive coordinator for the Lions is one Aaron Glenn. And he took over in New York as the head man for the Jets.
Yep. And he's already making his presence felt with personnel decisions.
I love the fact that they brought Aaron Rodgers in.
And told them what their expectations were.
Including no more McAfee show.
Yep, during the season, no more appearing there. And you will not miss any mandatory practices for any reason.
And so because of that, everybody's saying Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are pretty much done with the Jets. And I think that is the smart move.
Yep.
New regime.
Write them off.
New regime, clean slate. Work on deprogramming the younger players from what they just went through the last couple years.
Yes. God.
Get Breece Hall back on the right track. Get
you got a couple of nice young receivers.
Right. Get them all
who's had their confidence shaken.
A football mentality. Not the three-ring circus that came with Aaron Rodgers. So I think that's a brilliant... There are some, believe it or not, Jets fans who are upset about this.
Idiots.
Because they don't want to take a step back to take two steps forward. We don't have a chance to win next year if we don't have Aaron Rodgers.
You didn't have a chance to win this year with him. What makes you think he's going to rebound next year?
Again, we're the ones that have to run everything. Now we have to run the Jets. Then, of course, we knew this was coming. San Francisco has basically notified Deebo Samuel he can go out and find a trade partner.
Yep, we knew that was coming down the line.
They want the cap space. I heard Craig Carton on Breakfast Ball is one of the... He can be very funny, but he can also put out some of the dumbest rumors in the world. And he did it yesterday. That would be Tuesday, of course, as we tape here on February the 12th, dropping early on February the 13th, 2025. He thinks the 49ers are going to trade Brock Purdy to the Cleveland Browns for Myles Garrett, and then they're going to bring in Aaron Rodgers.
That would be the dumbest move you could possibly think of. There's
just-
no way in hell that that's going to happen.
Of course, trading Deebo Samuel would help clear up cap space to absorb Myles
You
Garrett.
have to clear up the cap space to be able to pay Brock Purdy.
But that's what he's saying. I'm not condoning this crazy rumor, but what he's saying, they don't want to pay Brock Purdy $50 million a year. They'd rather pay Myles Garrett whatever he's getting, 25, 30, whatever it is. And they could absorb that if they got rid of Deebo Samuel and then brought in Aaron Rodgers at a lower. If Aaron Rodgers was willing to
is
take,
not coming in at a lower rate. Come on. Brock Purdy deserves to be paid more
it's not going
than
to happen.
Dak
It's not gonna
Prescott.
happen. It's not going to happen.
No, it's
That's it.
stupidity.
It's not going to happen. No.
Now, Purdy is not in the $50 million. Nobody is in the $50 million range. Sorry.
The one team that makes the most sense to me for Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to continue on, because again, it would be a absolute blast to watch it. Now, some people are saying he's going to follow in the footsteps of Brett Favre, and he's going to go from Green Bay to New York to Minnesota. I have problems with that because we've seen how he handles it when there's a young quarterback behind him. He will not tutor. He will not mentor. He can't handle it.
He's an egotistical little bitch.
Right. The one I want to see, it makes sense, except for the fact that I want to see him and the head coach butt heads, is him going to Pittsburgh.
Oh, God. Tomlin would not put up with his shit.
But if Aaron could contain his ego, and that's a big if, I think that's the spot where he could make the biggest impact.
Now, I've heard rumblings, maybe Cleveland.
He would never go to Cleveland. Never. All I know is, I'd love it if he did, because that means they wouldn't draft Cam Ward. Right? Right? Please tell me. Right?
Yeah, they're not going to waste...
Yeah, let's put Cam Ward behind Aaron Rodgers.
And have Rodgers not develop another quarterback.
Yeah, that'd be even worse than Cleveland drafting Cam Ward outright.
Yeah, because
is
there's
to have
nothing
him
there.
Get drafted and sit behind Aaron Rodgers. Oh, for the love of God. Oh, for the love of God. Please, God, no.
Yeah, and I don't think Kellen Moore wants to deal with his ass down in New Orleans.
No. And I don't know what the cap implications are if they have to cut Derek Carr. Tennessee has been mentioned as a possibility.
Giants.
Now, well, that brings us to our next rumor. And for some reason, again, I listen to a lot of New York sports radio. This is not getting a lot of traction nationally. But now, his wife, Matthew Stafford's wife, as we get into the New York Giants rumors, Matthew Stafford, his wife has a podcast. Everybody's got a podcast. Of course, none better than ours. But she got on her podcast last week and started tearing a new one for the LA Rams.
Whoa.
Saying they're disrespecting her husband. Getting rid of Cooper Kupp is an insult because that gives her husband less to work with.
Cooper Kupp didn't do anything.
And they haven't gotten rid of him yet.
He's on the downside of the career.
And they still haven't technically gotten rid of him yet. But she got on her podcast and went off for a long time. I heard snippets of this. Went off for a long time about how the Rams aren't treating her husband right. And then this drops. The New York Giants hired her brother onto their staff.
Oh, good God.
Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law now works for the New York Giants. So now those rumors are hot and heavy that Matthew Stafford could potentially go to the New York Giants.
Yeesh.
And see, the thing that's fascinating about all this is you've got the old veterans like Stafford and Rodgers sitting out there. And then you've got the two really, I don't want to say top level, but the two best quarterbacks coming out of college in Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. But you've got 4 or 5 teams in the top 10 there that need quarterbacks. So what are you willing to do? If Aaron Rodgers goes to Tennessee, that opens up Tennessee to draft Travis Hunter at number 1.
Yeah.
And give Aaron Rodgers
a target,
a weapon he's been whining about for years. Well, he was in Green Bay, let's say. He got everything he wanted in New York and couldn't make it work.
Yeah, what makes you think he can make anything
he had
happen
Garrett
anywhere
Wilson.
else?
He forced them to trade for Devontae Adams.
He forced them to sign Lazard.
Yeah. So, just very interesting. And I actually heard Jets people saying they wouldn't mind if the Jets, I think the Jets had the 7th pick. They wouldn't mind if the Jets get a quarterback at 7. And we're not talking about Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders.
You're
reaching for Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe at number 7 in the first round.
Wow, that reeks of desperation.
I'm telling you, that's where they are right now. I don't think they'll do it. I think that's nutsy, cuckoo, insane.
Yeah, go ahead and do it, because that means one of the better offensive linemen will still be there for the Bears.
Yeah, from what I've seen, the projections are the Bears are in line to get the 2nd best offensive lineman in the draft if things stay relatively
stable,
normal. Yeah. And then we mentioned the Steelers, of course, as a potential landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. As Roger Goodell continues to destroy the game of football in America, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be hosting the 2025 game in Dublin, Ireland. I told you, every week that goes by, I am with you now.
Roger Goodell is the devil.
I have seen the error in my ways. You were right. He doesn't care about... John Gruden was right in his emails.
Yes, he was.
Roger Goodell does not care about the game of football.
Nope.
He does not.
Not at all.
And
so
that was another
to your
advertisement.
Heart's content.
That was another advertisement that I did not like. Was this big long ad for NFL female flag football, where the women are actually better than the men. I'm like, I saw a lot of women's groups come out Monday morning
and go,
saying,
what
that's an
bullshit
insult.
Is this?
That is an insult. That is not what we're about. We're about establishing sports for women, to empower women, not to say something stupid like women can beat men. That's why we're trying to get trans athletes out.
Yes.
We're not trying to send that message that women can beat men. We're trying to say
women's
separate but
sports
equal.
matter.
People don't like that, but sometimes it is true. You establish separate but equal, especially when it comes to the physical differences. We do not want our women getting hurt. We do not want our girls getting hurt.
What do you not understand?
All right, so that's it for the NFL. Now we go into the off season.
Put a bow on it.
Yeah. Now we go into the off season. Congratulations to the Big Blue W, Bill Lazowski, one of our 8 expert panelists, for his win in our football picks competition this year.
Well picked.
Yep, did a very, very good job. His 5th championship. So outside of me, I'm the last obstacle for him to take over. I'm like Brady and he's Mahomes.
There you go.
I got to step it up next year, man. I got to step it up. And it kind of cheap.
I need to.
Yeah, it's kind of cheap that most of mine came early when it was just like 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I dug myself an early hole.
And you end up tying for 2nd with Sam. Still very well played in coming back.
But still too big a hole early on. Got to correct that next year.
Well, remember, now the new season starts.
Yep.
With Daytona, that's the first competition in our Penta Frenzy for 2025-2026. And I guess we might as well say congrats to Nick.
Yep, for
Even
winning the
though
Penta
I haven't
Frenzy.
officially notified the group yet. But, yeah, Nick wins. I believe that's his first.
It is.
First ever Penta Frenzy. So the formal email will go out here in a day or two. And everybody out there's going, what are you guys talking about?
It's our internal competition.
Just like you have your fantasy football leagues and all that football pools and all that stuff, that's what we do too.
We have 5 competitions that we pick for.
Hence the name Penta Frenzy. So, and if you listen to us each and every week, you will hear as we explain, we've done it in the past, we'll do it in the future, the rules and how these all work. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to move on to a little bit of college football news. Of course, off-season for college football as well. Notre Dame, a little bit of news. Running backs coach Dallas McCaskey has left to go to the pros. He will take over the same position for the Las Vegas Raiders. Look at Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll poaching.
Yep.
From Marcus Freeman's staff. It looks like, I have not seen official word yet, but it looks like Notre Dame in turn will be poaching Penn State's running backs coach, Jajuan Sider.
It's all cyclical, kids.
Like I said, I have not seen official confirmation of that yet, but that's...
the rumblings and rumors.
Yep. Well, Deion Sanders is staying at Colorado, and I got to give him credit. He's bringing in the big guns for his running backs coach. A lot of talk about running backs coaches.
But I thought running backs were a dime a dozen. They're overvalued.
Oh, now they're saying Saquon Barkley's year has brought him back. Again, another reason why he should have been MVP. God, I cannot believe Deion has pulled this one off, though. One of my favorite players of all time. The new Colorado running backs coach, Marshall Faulk.
Wow.
Yeah. Not many better you can find out there.
You talk about somebody who can run and catch. Whew.
Now, we don't know if he can actually
Can he
translate his
coach?
skill.
Has he coached at all anywhere?
That's the thing. I don't know. Can he teach? He can do. Can he teach?
That's going to be the big question.
And of course, glowing after their championship from last month, Ohio State gives head coach Ryan Day a 3-year extension through 2031.
Now making him the highest paid college coach.
I don't think he caught Kirby Smart. He's second. Ryan Day will now make $12.5 million a year. But I think that's second to Kirby Smart.
Yeah. I still don't like him.
And then, of course, breaking news today for Ohio State. This almost guarantees they will not win the title again next year. The new defensive coordinator for Ohio State will be one Matt Patricia.
Oh my God.
So in a way, I'm happy because we get to see that doofus with his pencil behind his ear.
Oh God.
But
what
sorry.
train wreck will this be now?
Outside of his run with Bill Belichick.
He has been a joke.
Yeah, I don't... whatever.
Oh,
Sorry,
wow.
This is just a sign to me that they will not repeat next year.
Wow. You're going for a name, but everybody knows his name has become worthless over the last, 5 seasons?
Yeah, terrible head coach with the Lions. Terrible.
Awful. And then he hasn't been able to do anything else.
But since we're talking about Belichick and the Patriots, can I get in my Clint Eastwood badasses of the week?
Sure.
I have a couple. You'll be shocked by one of them. as we transition to another sport here. But first off, of course, yes, Bill Belichick is one of my Clint Eastwood badasses of the week for multiple reasons. Number one, he showed up at the NFL Honors banquet ceremony where they gave out the MVP and they gave out all the awards, and he has not gotten a sniff, of course, from any NFL team.
Nope, nobody.
So he took over North Carolina's college program, but he shows up here wearing all 8 of his championship rings, and of course has his young girlfriend Jordan Hudson.
Yeah, that didn't hurt either.
Yeah, looking smoking and spectacular on his arm.
Yep, that was a brilliant move, wearing all the rings.
Yeah, that was an FU.
Yes,
it
was a
and now,
big FU to the NFL.
And some were speculating because Miss Hudson had a big, massive ring on her finger. Not like that. No, not like that. But they thought that initial speculation was that Belichick had let her have one of the championship rings, the Super Bowl rings. It turns out that was not the case. She was actually wearing her cheerleader championship ring. It's like, damn. It's a pretty big rock for winning a cheerleading championship.
No shit. Good Lord.
But then the other thing tied into this that Miss Hudson did.
She do a little dance?
No, Super Bowl weekend. She makes an appearance with Bill, and number one, a lot of people point out, Bill's got bigger boobs than she does. And the picture I saw definitely looked like that was the case. But she was sporting. And this was another Belichick. Again, this is why he is the badass of the week, one of them. He had to have told her to wear this. Somehow they must have got in touch with somebody over in Pakistan or Cambodia. Jordan Hudson was wearing Super Bowl weekend a Falcons Super Bowl 51 champion t-shirt. You can't tell me Belichick didn't set that up. Because they print these shirts out ahead of time. I'm telling you right now, there are Super Bowl 59 Kansas City Chiefs World Champion shirts out there.
Going to third world countries.
Yes, because obviously
they've lost.
Yes.
You have to have them ready to go for both teams. That's how it works.
He got his girlfriend to wear a Falcons Super Bowl 51 champions t-shirt.
That's
And of course,
brilliant.
that was the Super Bowl where the Falcons had the epic collapse and the Patriots had the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Love the subtle digs.
Belichick's a genius. I don't care. I don't care. I love him. I'm rooting for North Carolina,
genius.
except against Miami. I am rooting for North Carolina. Now, the other Clint Eastwood badass of the week that I have for you kids, and your Uncle Dave, will shock you. But this will show you that I am fair and impartial. Okay? LeBron James.
Bum, bum, bum.
LeBron, I have to give him credit for this. LeBron James, back on February the 6th, became not only the oldest player in the league, but then, of course, he was the youngest player in the league to score 40 points in an NBA game. So he holds both distinctions now. So he is the
impressive.
oldest and the youngest player in NBA history to score 40 points in a game. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I have to give him props for that.
Yep. All right. So that will segue us to the NBA. My Magic still sucking it up badly. 26-29, and now Paolo Banchero has had to come out and admit the team is not gelling right now.
Gee, you think?
And it's a lot. I'll tell you what, it's a lot to do with him.
He's not
underperforming,
healthy.
and I don't think he's healthy. I think
He's
you're right.
not healthy. He's came
not
back too
yet.
soon.
But the thing is, Franz Wagner came back from the same injury, and he's tearing it up. Wagner's the one carrying him right now. And Banchero, I agree with you. But it's
Everybody
just odd.
reacts differently.
Yeah, that's the thing. Banchero looks like he came back too soon. Franz Wagner was ready, and he looks great.
And maybe Banchero, he was ready and he retweaked and is trying to play
He's
through.
just not telling anybody.
And he's trying to play through because Banchero is there.
And he's going to be up for a big-time extension here very soon. And that's the Magic are going to be, you want to talk about, I know they don't have a salary cap in the NBA, but I will still say they're going to be in salary cap hell.
Yeah.
Because they overpaid a lot of guys like Jalen Suggs that they shouldn't have. But let's give Paolo Banchero credit if he is fighting through and trying to play. Because, as we all know, last week, the trade that shook the world.
Blah.
The Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis trade. Well, things aren't real good in Dallas right now.
Nope. Street clothes is back.
Anthony Davis couldn't even make it through one game. He was playing great in that one game, by the way. He put up phenomenal numbers.
Through almost three quarters.
Now he's out multiple weeks with an adductor strain, which I believe is the new way to say groin strain. Inner thigh.
Yeah.
Adductor strain. And then again, the Mavericks. The rumors, have you heard the rumors? By the way, that they're trying to tank to set themselves up so they can move to Las Vegas?
Yeah, I heard some stupid crap about
They would
that.
not pull a team out of Dallas.
You can't.
You know,
No.
I don't see that.
No.
I don't see that. I don't see that at all. And then, because they're so mad at their general manager, who's been out front ever since they made this trade, the two fans got ejected because they were holding up signs, fire the GM.
Yeah. Not cool at all.
Then, of course, the other side of that trade was the LA Lakers, and they did win with the first game with LeBron and Luka playing together. But, of course, it was against the Utah Jazz.
So it was a good initial game for them to get a feel for how they can play together.
Yeah.
It was like a practice game.
Yeah. But they tried to bring in a big man to replace Anthony Davis. Initially, this trade went through where they got a young center, Mark Williams, from the Hornets. But then,
supposedly he failed a physical, and now the Hornets are putting up a lawsuit wanting to know why.
Yep.
What the hell's going on here?
Yep. So the Lakers, I believe, went out and got some trash heap guy from the Wizards.
Yeah.
To get some time in the middle.
Something sounded kind of hinky with that physical.
Yep. And then, of course, some people just fall ass backwards into luck. We talked about Anthony Davis, how he can't stay healthy. Of course, Luka Doncic, people are saying, is a lazy bum who doesn't keep himself in shape and wants a max extension. How about Ben Simmons? He's still around.
My God. Why is he even on a roster?
The Nets.
I mean, this guy is this is a worthless piece of garbage. Has he ever played a game since being drafted?
Has he? He's never. I don't think he's ever played a full season
combined since he's been drafted.
Well, the Nets were sick of him. The Nets, all they had to do, they could have kept him for the rest of the year because this is the last year of his contract.
Yeah, because
massive, huge contract.
That the
by
Sixers
the way.
signed him to.
Yeah, yeah.
And he, whoa.
This is why guaranteed contracts are bullshit in sports, because you got a lot of guys who take advantage. Well, the Nets said enough. We got to get you out of here. We don't even want you here the rest of the year. So the Nets bought him out, which made him a free agent, and he ends up now, he's back with his old teammate, because I believe they played together briefly with the Nets. He's out in L.A. with the Clippers and James Harden. Good Lord. I don't understand the NBA, the dynamic. I just don't.
I have no idea. It just, I don't get it.
And then, of course, we have the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, my God. They are trash.
And we'll talk more about them at the end of the show. But
Arturas Karnisovitz, or whatever the hell their GM's name is worse than Gar Paxson. I didn't think it was possible.
Yeah, he gives Lonzo Ball an extension. Talk about another guy now. He had a devastating knee injury. But they decide we're going to give Lonzo Ball a 2-year, $20 million extension. When most people thought they were going to try to wipe the slate clean and go through a complete rebuild, it looks like Lonzo Ball will stick around with the Bulls for another couple years.
There we go. All right, Ben Simmons' career stats for games played. His first year, 81. Second year, 79. Then in 2019-2020, you start to see 57, 21, 20, 2021, 58, 42, 15, 33.
I didn't even think at the beginning of his career he played that close to a full season.
Yeah,
so the
first 2 years, 81 and 79.
Huh. Wow.
So, could have fooled me that he would have had that many games played.
Then the Pelicans, who I don't know what they're doing. They're stuck with Zion Williamson, another guy I never would have given a huge deal to.
No.
They send...
Did we not fucking tell you that he was going to be another Ogden? Odin?
Yeah. Yep.
Did we not fucking tell you back then?
And I think he's the poster child for why Dallas didn't want to go down the road with Luka. Is that Zion never has kept himself in shape.
No.
He's always been hurt because he didn't keep himself in shape. He's never proven to be a leader. He's never really proven to be that outstanding, stellar, top-level superstar
that everyone expected him to be.
Yeah, so the Pelicans had to trade since they're trying to figure out what they're going to be. And that's the team, I'm sorry. That's the team they should be talking about sending to Vegas.
Yes.
That team has been a disaster. And New Orleans has issues outside of the Saints. They really don't have a core sports fandom for basketball, baseball, obviously hockey.
Yeah, no.
They're a football
city, end of discussion.
Yeah. But the Pelicans...
See, I was going to stick it to you and say maybe Orlando moves to Vegas because you have
You
magic.
shut your mouth, David!
That's the Vegas Magic.
You
with all the magic
shut
acts.
your mouth, David! Fucking what, David Copperfield gonna be the mascot? You leave my magic alone! There's nothing wrong with Orlando.
No, there's not. That's all they've got outside of the rat.
We have a fine football stadium that hosts multiple bowls every year. And Universal Studios, which I prefer to Disney. Anyway, the Pelicans ended up sending arguably their second best player, Brandon Ingram, to Toronto. Toronto turns around again, crazy money, and gives him a 3-year, $120 million extension. Brandon Ingram is worth $40 million a year.
No. Stupid money to play a fucking game.
Then finally, in the NBA, again, Dave and I aren't big NBA guys, but
we sure talk a hell of a lot about it.
Well, we got to keep the people updated, right?
They don't care.
Some of them would say they don't care about NASCAR, but we talk a lot about that.
Well, we care about NASCAR. It's our show, damn it.
Let us give props, applause to Hubie Brown, who called his last NBA game this past week. So I could be a very nasty, mean individual about another basketball commentator who everybody goes nutsy cuckoo crazy about every time he gets well and, oh, he's going to call a game again for the 14th time. Sorry. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm not going to elaborate. You should be able to figure it out. Because the first couple times he was sick, I felt bad for him.
Now
it's just getting ridiculous.
It's just time to go away.
So, Hubie Brown, some kudos, some props to him, as he calls it quits behind the NBA commentating desk. Well, since Dave is so enamored with basketball right now, as you can hear, kids, with his little rant against me, trying to just keep you informed with the NBA, let's move on to college basketball. Hey, do you want to talk about your favorite head coach?
Oh, Dan Hurley is the biggest piece of crap in coaching outside of Coach K. I am so sick of this pompous, arrogant asshole. I became a UConn men's basketball fan. Late 80s, early 90s. When Notre Dame was in the Big East, when Connecticut would come to town with Jim Calhoun, I would wear my Notre Dame pullover with my UConn ball cap. I enjoyed that program early on. Dan Hurley, you're a fucking embarrassment. Stores should be embarrassed by your actions. Winning at Creighton.
Number 24 in the country.
Your team sucks this year, Dan.
Just got their asses handed to them by St. John's.
Yeah, and you're flashing rings at Creighton. My God, your antics on the sidelines are pathetic alone against the officials. It's worn thin. And going at Creighton, that is a new low for any coach at any level.
My offer still stands. I've had it out there, standing offer for weeks. He wants to go toe-to-toe with me in a boxing ring. Let's do it. Somebody needs to take this guy.
This guy is such an arrogant, pompous asshole. I'm done. I can't stand it. It's pathetic.
You know what I think would have stood up to him in the old days? He's too old now. But a guy who had the same kind of mentality, the arrogance, and the anger, Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
I think Bob Huggins would have slugged him.
Do you think old Bobby Knight?
Oh, no. God, no. Yeah. I know we're going in the Wayback Machine with that one, but no. Bob Knight would never have put up with that. Well, this crap never would have flown in the old school days.
No, it wouldn't.
In the 70s and the 80s.
No,
like you said, when Krzyzewski came in,
this is entitled,
changed.
Arrogant assholeness. It has to end.
I swear to God, they better get knocked out of the tournament early. Because if I got to put up with this guy making a run to the Final Four, it's going to suck all the fun out of this for me.
It will. This guy is trash. He's a hell of a coach, but he's an asshole.
Speaking of coaches in the college ranks, the men's side, Mike Woodson says he is calling it quits with Indiana at the end of the season.
Rumblings are he was asked to step aside.
But the other night they had the borderline Clint Eastwood badass moment. Despite the fact that Mike Woodson is going to be done at the end of the year, they beat Tom Izzo and number 11 Michigan State, knowing
that if Michigan State would have won, Izzo would have surpassed Bob Knight for all-time Big Ten wins.
So I'll give Mike Woodson kudos for that.
Yep, preventing it from happening on Indiana's court.
Yep. Now, in terms of the top teams in the country, number 1, Auburn lost to Florida. Number 2, Duke lost to Clemson, but didn't shake up the rankings all that much. Auburn is still number 1 in the AP poll. They're number 2 in the coaches poll. Alabama number 1. Now, I will say this. I usually don't watch college basketball until we get to the tournament. I might need to watch Saturday. Number 1, Auburn. Number 2, Alabama.
That is that a preview?
When I see number 1 versus number 2 this late in the season, I gotta watch.
This is high stakes.
Yep. So and I mean Auburn's still 21-2. That's why they really didn't fall. They lost some votes, but they didn't fall from the number 1 spot in the AP poll. But yeah, Auburn and Bama, 1 versus 2, this coming Saturday. In terms of the teams that we normally follow, Notre Dame's playing Boston College tonight as they sit 10-13. And my Miami Hurricanes found somebody else to beat. Last week it was Notre Dame. This week they beat Syracuse. So they improved to, I use improve very loosely, they improved to 6-18. All right, NASCAR, we mentioned they're going to be taking over the spotlight here now that the NFL season is over and done. Daytona pole qualifying is about half an hour in right now. We did have our first practice session earlier today. Dave told me.
Weather reports were it was in the mid-30s this morning for first practice.
Toyota's dominated. They got 5 of the top 6 speeds in the first practice.
We have 23 cars qualified right now. Currently, Ryan Preece is on pole. Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, Michael McDowell, A.J. Allmendinger, Truex Jr., Noah Gragson, and Jimmy Johnson are your top 10.
The big names probably haven't gone out yet.
However, yes, we are still waiting on Blaney, Reddick, Hamlin, Elliott, Keselowski, Larson. So, yeah. Big guns will be going out later.
Yep. We'll try to give you an update and tell you who might have the top 2 positions. Of course, that's how Daytona works. They only give the top 2 positions out based on qualifying, and then tomorrow night,
the duels.
February the 13th, will be the duels to decide the rest of the qualifying order.
Yeah, I still prefer to call them the twins.
That's what she said.
But,
yeah. And then, of course, even though you knew this was coming, we'd already mentioned this a long time ago. I think 9 months is a long time for these guys to wait to actually get their formal induction.
Whoa! Currently, it's 38 degrees in Daytona.
That's got to change the way they're running these cars. With it being that cold?
Yeah, who knows what the weather's going to be like for the Great American Race. Cold front is still sweeping across the country.
Yep.
Through the weekend, so very interesting.
So, of course, this past weekend, February the 7th, the class of 2025 was officially inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. We've already discussed this, but again, 9 months seems like a lot of time to pass between when these gentlemen were announced and them to finally get in.
Yeah, some of these older drivers getting in. 9 months is a long damn time.
So it was Carl Edwards, Ricky Rudd, and Ralph Moody. And of course, Ralph Moody, unfortunately, already has passed.
Yes, but God, legendary owner.
I watched a couple minutes of Carl Edwards' acceptance speech, and I know initially when he dropped out and retired, there were some rumors that he might be going into politics. He should be in politics.
Yeah.
That man can give a captivating speech. So there's still a little bit of a mystery and an enigma around him.
Yeah.
Why did he quit as early as he did?
I still don't think he is a Hall of Fame driver.
I can see your point on that. I really can. But we can have that discussion about any Hall of Fame. And
This
again,
is true.
when we get to the weekend edition,
Bum, bum,
the Rock and Roll
bum.
Hall of Fame.
Our
nominees
annual
are out.
rant.
Yes, my blood pressure medicine waiting for me. Good Lord. But they all screw it up. Football, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Football screwed it up. NASCAR probably screwed it up. Baseball has been screwing
Baseball
it
is
up.
too tightly wound. Everybody else is too loose. You gotta find a medium.
Well, let's move on to baseball then, Dave. Because pitchers and catchers are now reporting down in Arizona and in Florida. And the Cubs still haven't signed Alex Bregman yet. God damn it! The logic behind these idiots. I read this past weekend when somebody asked Jed Hoyer, who, by the way, is in the final year of his contract. Thank God.
He's not been stellar.
Pressure is on him. People ask him, what is the holdup with, are you going to sign Alex Bregman? What are the holdups? What are the problems? They're $40 million under the luxury tax threshold. This is what drives Cubs fans crazy. Well, we don't know what we can commit to him because we want to make sure we have $15 to $20 million to play with at the trade deadline.
What have you done the last couple years at the trade deadline that you need the money for? If you have somebody of this caliber,
And a gaping hole at third base.
you're not going to need that money at the trade deadline.
Yeah, then basically you're saying what I was thinking, just in a different way. My logic to this is, when I heard that, I said, well, if you don't
And if you're
sign
worried about the
him...
money, move Ian Happ.
Oh, no, they said again, you know what they said again? Well, if we sign Alex Bregman, we're probably going to have to move Nico Horner.
No, move Ian Happ.
No, they love Ian Happ.
Ian
Happ's the
Happ
best
is
ever.
useless. He is
an analytic geek's wet dream. But yeah, this whole Jed Hoyer talking about why they can't, and if they do, what they would have to do to counter with the finances if they sign Alex Bregman is just a load of bullshit. It's the Ricketts family being tightwads, which they have become ever since they won the World Series.
There was a very good discussion that I heard about this. And at Cubs convention, Ricketts got very defensive. But other pieces involved with this that I heard is that he should have touted, yes, he said, we put $1 billion into Wrigley Field and the surrounding area. That's great. But what he should have touted is we had investors helping with that. We took on the debt to make it happen, and we're still paying for that debt. And until that debt is paid, we don't have the direct funds to put into the team. If it's explained in that fashion, I get it.
It's still stupid. It's still stupid. Because your main job is to field a competitive baseball team. I don't care about the rest of the crap.
The rest of the stuff, once that's paid for, that money is revenue to sink back into the team.
And how long do we have to wait?
I don't know.
See, and that's, again, the twisted logic.
And the problem is, Marquee Network has not taken off the way the Cubs expected.
No, because as a diehard Cubs fan, I'm not paying $20 a month to watch the Cubs.
And that's where they made their drastic mistake, is they thought they were going to pull in Dodger-Yankee money off the Marquee Network like they have, and it's not happening for them.
And what they need to do is reach out to other cable and streaming outlets like YouTube TV outside of Xfinity, which is the only one that I'm aware of that actually that carries the Marquee Network. They need to drop their demands in terms of pricing. They're not ESPN, and let the fans watch the network as part of their cable or streaming package.
Get what you can out of it instead of taking the loss. They started off too high. They should have come in at a better entry point.
Yeah, because they just look greedy.
And then, like everybody else, slowly raise it up.
Yeah, because, again, with what started all this, the twisted logic with Alex Bregman. And, again, you expressed it well. How I would express it is, you're not going to be in a position as a buyer at the trade deadline if you don't have a good enough team with Alex Bregman to get there to the point where you can buy more.
Yeah. And let's face it, the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Mets have fucked everything up with their unbridled spending.
Oh, can we talk about some more signings that involve nothing but New York and Los Angeles, by the way?
Sure, because they're the only ones doing anything.
So our signings over the past week only involve New York and Los Angeles, as I said. Pete Alonso. Again, Scott Boras fucked his client over. Pete Alonso had an offer on the table last year for, I believe, between 150 and 170 million. He had to sign a 2-year deal with the Mets for 54 million, with, again, the 1-year opt-out. Trademark Boras stunt.
Yep. He had a solid offer. Boras wanted to get greedy.
The Dodgers haven't stopped spending yet.
No, why would they? They're printing money out there.
They decide, hey, we like Kike Hernandez so much, let's bring him back to L.A. for the 4th time. Nice utility infielder. Yeah, let's give him $6.5 million. On top of our record-breaking 2025 payroll that we've already established. Yeah. And then, Clayton Kershaw's coming back.
Sure, why not? We'll let him pitch a half a dozen games before he goes on the IL again.
Yeah, haven't seen the final numbers on that, but that's estimated to be somewhere between 5 and 10 million. So those two deals will most likely push the Dodgers close to $400 million.
Ridiculous.
Let's go to the other team in Los Angeles for shits and giggles, shall we? As they keep trying to figure out a way to be relevant in the shadow of Chavez Ravine.
Oh, the Angels are a joke.
They've got their closer for 1 year, Kenley Jansen. Signs on with the Angels, 1 year, $10 million. And then your buddy, who I actually thought maybe the Cubs would go after if they're not going to sign Bregman, Yoan Moncada signs with the Angels on a 1 year, $5 million deal. But you know why? How this looks brilliant now?
No.
Anthony Rendon is undergoing hip surgery. And he will be out a significant amount of time.
Hey,
Have you noticed? You kids noticed the pattern we've established in this? Anthony Rendon, Anthony Davis, these guys who never stay healthy in an age where supposedly fitness.
everybody's supposed to be more in shape and attuned to their body.
Nutrition is the best it's ever been. Sports nutrition. And,
right.
And again, you've got these guys who I think most of them, not all of them, but most of them are manipulating the system because the money's guaranteed once you sign the contract. You don't have to do jack shit.
Nope. And we'll see how long Moncada stays healthy for the Angels this year.
And keep in mind, a few years ago, remember Anthony Rendon came out and said, I really don't know how much I love baseball.
Yeah, I'm just not that into the game. Then maybe you shouldn't have signed the fucking contract.
And then, of course, in one of the most ridiculous stories of the past year, Ipe Mizuhara, that would be Shohei Ohtani's interpreter.
The gambler.
Who, quote, stole, unquote, from Mr. Ohtani to gamble and pay off gambling debts, was sentenced to 57 months in prison, and he has to pay approximately $17 million in restitution to Shohei Ohtani.
All for covering for Ohtani's bad debt.
Oh, and he does owe the IRS $1.1 million. Yeah, I still think
he was doing it on Ohtani's behalf. They're covering it up.
There is something very, very shady going on there. Very shady. You want to talk about your Blackhawks?
No.
We're at the, not the All-Star break.
Not yet.
The Four Nations break.
Yeah. No, I haven't even bothered checking where they're at.
17, 31, and 7. 41 points. Still
not dead last.
Thank God for the San Jose Sharks.
No kidding.
All right, we seem like we've brought this segment back pretty much full time now. So why don't we go from this
to 5-0?
We go 5-0, moments of silence, Red Foreman to wrap things up. Frenzy 5-0, our weekly look at the sports crime blotter. First up, I knew this guy was bad news. Knew he was bad news. Had to listen to the New York fans when the Giants drafted him in the first round. Oh, he's a rapper too. And Young Joker. And all I heard is Young Joker this, Young Joker that. To the point where I was going to make a drinking game out of it. Because Gio on Boomer and Gio
Young Joker, drink.
Yeah, couldn't stop saying Young Joker. Well, Young Joker's a piece of trash. He's a piece of gutter trash. And I don't care if he's got a Super Bowl ring. The true colors have come out. Any team who's going to draft somebody who cares more about their brand and about their side career than about football, you should stay the fuck away from. And Kadarius Toney is now the absolute number one poster child for that line of thinking, because now he has been arrested.
Again.
In Georgia, aggravated assault, strangulation. Strangling a woman. Yeah, this guy's great.
Piece of human refuse.
And shame on the team that gives him another chance.
He is done.
And the other report we've got on the crime blotter, this is sad. And I hate to go through this story, but this is a lesson to be careful, very, very, very careful with everything you do in life. Telemundo sports reporter out of Kansas City, Adam Manzano, was found dead in his New Orleans hotel room the week before the Super Bowl. A woman was arrested in possession of his credit cards and his phone with a past criminal history, including drugging men. So basically, she was a New Orleans scam artist, a grifter, who would seduce men
in a hotel bar, drugged them, got them to their room.
And obviously, she did not give him the right
mix
amount, or he was allergic. And initially, I was like, well, am I supposed to feel... I feel bad for the guy, but at the same time, is he cheating on his wife? Well, wait till you hear this. And this will make you hate this woman all that much more. And I hope she burns in hell. Adam Manzano, from what I'm reading, this man was obviously lonely. He had a toddler daughter at home, but his wife died in a 2024 car crash.
Oh, God. Ugh.
So he wasn't cheating on his wife.
No, he was
just a single father, and he was just lonely, is how I read this.
And was taken advantage of and killed, murdered by this awful human being.
Again,
how many times has she been arrested for this
multiple times.
And why is she still walking the fucking streets?
I have a theory about that, but I will not espouse it here on the podcast because people get tired of me talking about politics. But it's just a sad, terrible story. Terrible story. And again,
awful.
I tell you kids this story as a lesson to not trust anybody in this fucking world. You'll be taken advantage of. You will be taken advantage of. And possibly killed. Sorry. Cold hard facts of life. All right. Unfortunately, we will stick with the negative. Move on to moments of silence. We've already discussed what's happened with the Bears. One of the Miami Dolphins legends from the 1972 undefeated team, wide receiver Howard Twilley, passed away.
Thoughts and prayers to the Twilley family and friends and Dolphin Nation.
And then somebody who I was very familiar with when I lived down in Orlando. He was a prominent writer for the Orlando Sentinel. Also worked with ESPN and a host of other networks and companies. He was the preeminent NASCAR writer in the country. And that would be one Ed Hinton.
Wrote several books as well.
Yes. Yes. So NASCAR Nation mourns the loss of one of their best spokespeople.
One of their historians.
Yes, Ed Hinton. And then
I believe I have a book or two by him as well.
I didn't look. I've only got a few NASCAR books. I didn't see if he co-authored any of them. And then, again, another really, really sad story. At least you could say with Howard Twilley, Ed Hinton, they lived fairly full lives.
Yeah.
This just broke today as we record on February the 12th. UNLV offensive lineman Ben Kreisman passed away in his off-campus apartment at the age of 21.
Oh, God.
There's no further details.
Hate to hear that.
Yeah, I hope there's nothing
nefarious
untoward going on there. Yeah. Although 21 years old, that's chances of natural causes could happen, but slim,
on the lower end.
Slim to none. Let's put it that way. All right, so now let's pivot away from all this, the crime and the death.
And we're still sticking with the negative.
Yes, but in a fun way. In a fun way, because it is time for what, Dave?
It is time to find out which of these contestants will be this week's Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week. Who gets the golden boot up the ass?
Yeah, you should see that trophy.
It's
Ooh,
not
boy.
pretty.
No. No, it is not. I took it easy this week. Only four. Only four. Could have gone with our buddy from UConn.
Yeah, he deserved his own rant.
Could have gone with the Mavericks. But I selected these four. And unfortunately, I think there's one that's going to stand out. So I'm going to save that one for last. Now, this one could have gone to the weekend edition, but I decided to leave it here in the sports edition because it pertains to the Super Bowl. And Dave and I talked earlier about the fact that they're using classic rock in these commercials.
Yeah.
Even though...
We don't matter.
Yes.
This is our music.
At the same time, we don't watch the halftime show. It's not supposed to be for us. Haven't watched one in a decade, but here's my thing. And I finally put two and two together for something, again, to call out one Roger Goodell. Why the fuck are you associating the NFL, arguably the greatest brand in the world, very successful, making money hand over fist? Why have you decided to tie in all these years? Again, this is why they're putting out these halftime shows that you and I don't give two rip shits about, and why we're not going to see Metallica, and we're not going to see AC/DC or any rock act, is because they've had this arrangement for years now with Jay-Z
And Rock Nation.
to put together the halftime show. Do we not know what Jay-Z is currently under investigation for?
His association with P. Diddy. Now.
Rape
Yep.
with underage people involved. Yet the NFL's fine to keep associating itself with Rock Nation. If it was a player, the player would have been suspended by now.
What do they have on Roger Goodell? What was he partaking in?
You say
Just
Epstein Island?
just throwing it out there. Was he involved in any of these parties to celebrate the unification between Rock Nation and the NFL? Do they have something on him now?
I'll say it again. And I swear I will stop saying this.
I'm just throwing it out
But
there.
I will say this again. Every minute now, I won't say every day anymore, I'll say every minute that passes, I lose more and more respect for Roger Goodell. Because you're starting to see all of these things, obvious or more subtle like this, that lead me to believe that man, there is something going on behind the scenes.
There's something there.
He does not care about the football fans. He cares about politics.
And money.
He cares about political agendas. And like you said, seems like he might be associating with some shady people to cover up some things, maybe in his life.
John Gruden was not that far off, as we said earlier.
Nope, sometimes the truth is ugly, and it's brutal, but it's the truth, and it's honest.
And Gruden's the pariah for it.
Yep. We talked earlier about the Chicago Bulls and how they're a mess. Well, it might have sunk to its lowest point ever. Last night, February the 11th, in Chicago at the United Center.
A mediocre Detroit Pistons team comes in and throws a 40-point ass-kicking on the Bulls.
71-29 at half. That is right, kids. The Chicago Bulls scored 29 total points in the first half at home against the Pistons.
They were 0 for 20 on their first 3-point attempts. No defense at all.
Is Billy Donovan still the head coach?
He is, and he has been subtly calling out the front office for putting together
Billy Donovan
a shit team.
didn't deserve this. He
No.
didn't deserve this. He's
No,
a better
not
coach
at all.
than this. He's a better coach than this.
In his press conferences, he's tried to be gracious, but you can tell this is wearing on him. This is not what he signed up for, and he's stuck with trash.
All right, another guy that I'm starting to lose more and more respect for day by day. Now, Dave gives me a hard time about so many things. What this time, Uncle Kev? Well, he doesn't like the fact that I listen to New York sports radio more than I do Chicago sports radio. And he has tried and tried to get me to listen to the Score.
Oh, the afternoon show today was great. They had a great interview.
Here we go. Here we go.
With Mike Brown, former safety for the Bears, and it was really.
He knows good. I hate Dan Bernstein.
This is
with a
after
passion.
Bernstein.
I get it, but now I have to call out a former guy from the Score that you used to love.
I was mediocre on him. He was not my favorite.
Now he's on national sports TV in the morning on FS1.
Yeah, Danny Parkins was never my favorite.
Well, Danny Parkins, for months and months, has been telling everybody how fantastic the Kansas City Chiefs are and how wonderful Pat Mahomes is and how they do no wrong and they're perfect beyond belief, the best team we've ever seen. And then, of course, they got their asses kicked in the Super Bowl. Guess who called in sick to breakfast ball on Monday?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh, he zoomed in after the first hour.
Was his eyes bloodshot red from smoking too many bowls?
Fine. That's something I wanted to ask you.
Oh, he's awake and Baker.
Because you mentioned that to me a couple weeks ago, and I never followed up on it. Because I told you, I used to watch Pro Football Focus. It was on the NBC Sports Network with Mike Florio, and then Chris Sims would be on. And I told you, I hate that little fucking prick because he said I have to have Fridays off because that's my day to smoke.
Yeah. Oh, no, Parkins.
Then you mentioned Parkins.
Parkins had made no doubt about it because weed's legal in Illinois, so they talked about it regularly.
Good Lord. Another guy. I initially liked him on Breakfast Ball.
He wears on you.
And then he got into the whole Kansas City Chiefs thing.
If he gets in, there are certain tangents he runs on where he will grate on you. And then after a bit, he comes back to normal. But overall, he's an annoying little dweeb.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is why I have my issues about this. And yes, I know a lot of people are sick right now with the flu. I get it. But he was well enough to travel to New Orleans because they did the show for 3 days, I believe, from New Orleans last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Then, of course, his team gets their ass kicked.
And he can't be bothered to show up.
But he comes on later on the Zoom. If he's at home sick, wouldn't you think they'd be okay with him maybe wearing a sweater or a T-shirt since he's just in his library or whatever? No, he's still dressed in a full suit.
Then what the hell?
Who the hell who's suffering from the flu
gets dressed for a Zoom? No.
He was a chicken shit pussy. He did not want to face Mark Schlereth and did not want to face Craig Carton, who were going to rip him to shreds.
Take
Carton
medicine.
Especially because Carton had told everybody he had the Eagles winning the whole damn thing. Yeah, but Danny Parker, I can't face the music. I can't. I think I got the flu.
Yeah, no. Parkins can be a little wuss bag.
All right, so finally, fourth of our 4 Red Foreman nominees as we wrap things up here on the Sports Edition. One last time, don't forget to check out your Saturday morning hangover cure. Day after Valentine's Day. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
VD.
We are really going to have to get you off the ledge, aren't we? Really going to have to. You're going to be at the bar looking at all the happy couples. There's not going to be enough tequila in the world. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to poison the well here, but I think this one's probably going to take the cake. Although me personally, I fucking can't stand this whole Roger Goodell Jay-Z thing. Because I love music so much and how it just has tainted and destroyed the halftime shows. Because I remember my favorite was Prince.
Prince was brilliant.
But I miss Tom Petty and The Who when I could actually watch the halftime show and enjoy it. But this is going back it is going back to Frenzy 5-0. I will not say the man's name, but a father in Seattle has been charged with assault, as there is a video out there of this man coming onto the ice and shoving 2 child referees at a youth hockey game.
Oh, come on!
There is nothing in the video that shows any kind of provocation. He just comes out onto the ice, walks over to these 2 young men, and shoves them both to the ground.
What an asshole.
And again, he has been a charge. I can't believe it, in Seattle.
In Seattle, they actually charged him with something? What, misdemeanor assault?
He's been charged with assault, is what I have right now. But yeah, it's graphic in the sense the video is where, again, there's no conversation ahead of time. There's nothing where you can see these kids saying something to him that might have provoked him. He comes onto the ice, walks over to them, maybe walks about 10 feet, and just shoves them both straight to the ice. At a youth hockey game, and again, adult referees. They're trying to let the younger kids referee the games as well as play in the games.
Yeah. Helicopter Dad, asshole of the year. There you go. Definitely the dumbass of the league.
I know. That one's kind of hard to, like I said, kind of hard to dispute.
Yeah. There is no place in sports for that type of behavior.
No. And the parents just get too worked up.
It's a fucking game. Well, you know what the odds of you... Dude, do you know the odds of your kid making it to the NHL? Very, very slim. Chill out.
And again, I don't know what the provocation was here. What caused him to do this? What caused him to snap?
There's no reason.
No, you and I would obviously agree to that. There's no excuse to go onto the ice and push a couple kids. I don't care what they said to you. There's no excuse. And again, I don't see where they said anything. I don't know if something happened earlier, but...
Who knows?
Yeah, that goes far and above beyond Pussy Danny Parkins calling in sick after his Chiefs lost, the Bulls with the pathetic 29-point first-half performance, and my personal vendetta against Roger Goodell and Jay-Z for these shitty-ass halftime shows. At least now I can feel a little bit of vindication that it seems like almost unanimously, universally, everybody hated Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment because I didn't watch it, so.
No, I didn't either, but I'm just going by what I've heard.
Yeah, reports. There we go.
He's your Uncle Dave.
He's your Uncle Kev. Check out the weekend edition, your Saturday morning hangover cure.
I get broken hearts the day after Valentine's Day. Oh my God, this is low-hanging fruit for us. Oh, and by the way, this could be one of the best weekend editions ever.
And the Broken Hearts Club, watch out for the transference of VD on VD.
We are going to be talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees. So yes, my blood pressure monitor will be close at hand. I've got Oscar level movie reviews for you. And then your Uncle Dave came up with a brilliant little fun game we're going to play.
Yep, so you'll have to stay tuned to find out what it is.
Yep.
No spoilers.
Dropping Saturday morning the 15th. If that, for some reason, the pop culture fun is not your thing, we'll be doing the sports stuff again in 7 days. Daytona 500 recap.
Yep.
So, Until then, say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Good night to the kids, Dave.